All right, welcome to Strategy 3 of TABE Language M. As always, make sure you have the paper copy of the book with you. We'll be working through this lesson together. And of course, also as always, if you don't have the paper copy of the book, you can navigate to Files and then the TABE Language M pages and open the digital scan to follow along with us. So we're on Strategy 3, and this one in particular is on capitalization and spelling rules. A little bit of a break from kind of the hardcore grammar theory of last lesson where we were looking at verb tenses, modal auxiliaries, correlative conjunctions, and a lot of complicated grammar issues like that. This one at least is kind of clear cut where we're dealing with what we're supposed to capitalize, use uppercase letters. And we're also going to look at some strategies for spelling words, or rather recognizing misspellings of words, which is the way that you'll see it on the test. Okay, so I'll just start reading here and we'll talk about the rules for what you capitalize and in what situation. So when writing sentences, it's important to use correct capitalization. You might automatically follow some rules, such as capitalizing the first word of a sentence. By the way, that's a rule. Other rules might be harder to remember. Proper nouns, which name specific people, places, or things, are always capitalized, so like my name, your name. Be careful when deciding if something is a proper noun. The days of the week and months of the year are proper nouns, but the names of the seasons are common nouns, which name general people, places, and things. So get that, the four seasons, even though we kind of think of them like the months and days as proper nouns, are actually just expressed as common nouns, therefore not capitalized like other general things, people, places, and things that are not named. Also, terms like aunt and uncle are proper nouns when you are naming a specific member of your family, like I invited Uncle Jim to my party, but not when you're talking in general terms. My uncle is coming to dinner tonight. Below are some common capitalization rules. Okay, so let's work through them real quickly. So, names, first names, last names, but if we're going to use some sort of honorific or title like Mr., Mrs., Sir, we're going to capitalize that as well. Okay, titles, if it is an official title. So, President Lincoln, it is an official title, President of the United States. We're using it as part of his name. But if I just said the president got on his helicopter, to take off, I wouldn't capitalize it there. I'm just using the word president in general. Same thing with any political title. Okay, ethnic groups. French citizens, we capitalize French because it's part of a nationality, but not the citizens. But check out Asian Americans. The reason we capitalize both words here is that both do refer to sort of a region or national group. Citizen is just a common noun. Just if I said like the French people, people would be lowercase. But if I said, French Americans, then like in Asian Americans, we would have to capitalize the second word. Okay, places, California, a state. Lake of Michigan, a name, geographical region, Mars, even separate planets. So anything that we have given a proper name, we capitalize. Organizations, the U.S. Senate. Of course, we wouldn't capitalize it if we were just said the Senate did whatever, because it wouldn't be specified which Senate we're talking about. United Nations. Certainly we capitalize all the words in a named organization like that. Historical terms, that have official meaning to historians, the Treaty of Versailles or World War II. Notice in a lot of these things we use Roman numerals to signify, the where in the sequence it was. And, calendar names, which I've already sort of addressed up in here, but months, days of the weeks, and then certainly the holiday. If I said Thanksgiving dinner, I would not capitalize dinner. It's not part of the proper name, but certainly the name of the holiday is. All right, we've got a couple of examples here to show off some capitalization. So on Monday morning, so on capitalized being the first word of the sentence. Monday, proper name, day of the week. Zoe, proper name, picked up Alice and Cho, all three of these are proper names, and drove them to Yale University. University is part of the name of Yale, so we capitalize both words. Proper name, named place. Okay, let's see what we have here in the second example. We capitalize because it's the first word in the sentence. Celebrate Independence Day. You know, day is part of the name of this holiday, which is why it's capitalized. On July 4, capitalized month, because the Declaration of Independence, historical document or event that is agreed upon and has a proper name, adopted on that day in 1776. All right, so in both sentences, we have some examples of when to capitalize nouns. Of course, the rule being when they're proper, but certainly figuring out whether a noun is proper can take a little bit of thought and investigation. Okay, skipping past the work to come back to it in the answers video. Here is another punctuation issue. Capitalization is related, but what we're really working with here on this page is how we write the titles of works. Certainly in your own writing, you may have opportunity to do that. On the GED, you may reference the title of a work. But most of the time, you'll be responsible for recognizing when titles are written incorrectly on the TABE or GED. And it's not as big of an issue as it may seem because there are really only two methods that we're concerned about here in italics and quotation marks. So the titles of works such as books, journals, newspapers, websites, stories, poems, articles, and plays, I'd even add movies, television shows, must be properly formatted. Titles of books, newspapers, and magazines are italicized. So in other words, longer works. Not longer titles, but longer works. Like a novel is, a book that would take many hours, if not days to read. That's a longer work. A movie is considered a longer work in comparison to a TV show or a shorter video. So all of those that are longer works are italicized. That's the slanted text that you see here in the title of War and Peace. Back 20, 30 years ago, we used to underline titles because many typewriters or word processors didn't have the capability of doing italics. Because we're in 2023 and even our phones can produce italic texts, we use italics instead of underline. But think about the length of the work that you're writing about, and if it's a longer work, and especially if it's a work that contains smaller parts like articles or short stories or essays from different authors, that's going to be a larger work because it contains smaller works. Okay, so she read the book War and Peace last year. That's a novel. That's why it's in italics. He was reading the New York Times newspaper, so that's in italics because it's the title of the newspaper. However, individual articles within the newspaper are not italicized. They get quotation marks, which we'll talk about in the next few examples. Los Angeles Times, just like the New York Times, is a title. Time Magazine, again, a title. Guardians of the Galaxy, the title of a movie, would be italicized. The Blacklist TV show would be italicized. But individual episodes within those TV shows would not. They would get quotation marks, which is what we use for shorter works. So if we go down here to the chart on quotation marks, the keyword article, which is a shorter work, the Bill of Rights today appeared in that magazine. So what we have here is quotation marks. Note that we don't capitalize short words like this preposition within a title. The rules are articles like the, unless they are the first word of the title, as is the case here. So articles, prepositions, we don't capitalize in titles. We have to read the chapter adding polynomials. So a chapter within a textbook is surrounded by quotation marks. Gillian Flynn wrote the short story, there's our keyword, short story, The Grown Up. So as you're looking for these, look to clues to the length of the work within the sentence, and that'll help you determine whether it should be italics or quotation marks. Okay, so let's see our examples here. Catherine Schultz won a Pulitzer Prize, and by the way, Pulitzer Prize is capitalized, both words, because it's an official award, proper noun. For her article, there's our keyword, the really big one, which is why it's in quotation marks, that appeared in The New Yorker. There's the title of the magazine. So we italicized that in 2015. And look at this sentence. The first assignment in mathematics for beginners, I'm assuming this is a textbook, is to read chapter 4. I think now it's confirmed it's probably a textbook. Understanding fractions, quotation marks around the individual chapter. Don't have to put them around chapter 4, but certainly the title of the chapter. All right, moving past the work to the last of our 3 instructional slides. This one is about spelling, and they've given you a list of commonly misspelled words. Not that you're going to have access to that when you take a test. You're not going to have access to a dictionary or Google when you take an official test. But I will say that it's worth your time to spend some significant time with these words and being able to spell them. Look at some of the patterns, like in accommodate, we have the ACC, that's a common prefix. In appearance, we have the APP, another common prefix. So looking through these words, many of them are misspelled because of the amount of double letters that appear within them. That's what you're going to see as you go through them. Or, sounds that don't seem to add up phonetically or in terms of phonics, like a rhythm, that has that silent H, and we're not used to thinking of Y as a vowel. So these are words that we commonly mess up when we're writing. And that's not a reflection of intelligence or education. That's just kind of a reflection of, we're not asked to spell from scratch a whole lot anymore because of the technology that we use. All right, so in this example sentence, we have some misspelled words, and if we cross-reference those with the list of the words as they're correctly spelled, we'll see that we'll see the correct spelling. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on there because this is just familiarizing yourself with these words and the pattern of spelling that's present in them. And of course, on the next page, you're going to work with them and recognize some that are misspelled. So that ends the instructional part of this. Of course, do the 3 pages of work that go along with it to finish up this strategy. And when you're done, start up the answers and explanation video so that we can go through the answers together. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes.